Thank you for being with us, and I don't think I'm going overboard to thank you for being at nothing less than a historical event. Today is the day when we formally dedicate and install items that have been restored, preserved from various sources, from our proud Bonds-Wilson High School. I like to say that they are coming home today. The proud achievements, whether they be football jerseys or trophies or plaques or whatever they may be, that are now displayed in the reading room that student from the academic magnet, William Pugh, had the idea to begin. And I hope if you can't do it today, that when you have some more leisure, because the school is open, of course, during the week, that you can come in and view everything in the reading room. Ladies and gentlemen, the items have come home today. Our hero from our time, Art Shell, has come home today. Art, please join us. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Let's hear it louder. Art answered the call at a moment's notice when he found out what we were trying to do. Without any hesitation, without any reserve, immediately responded. And we cannot thank him enough. And as we told him at the committee meeting last night, and as you will see in a few minutes, the items he is rededicating and dedicating, the significant achievements in sports history will be displayed right on this campus. His items and art have come home today. And finally, those of you who are Bonds-Wilson alums, whether you be faculty or whether you be students, you have come home today, right? Will you stand up if you're a Bonds-Wilson alum? You have come home today, and this is how it should be. I am James Turner, class of 75, a member of the fine committee who worked 6 months on this project, or even more, and I want to take a quick minute to introduce them because they worked so hard to put this together and to make this happen for all the alums and for history. Committee members, some may not be present, but most are. Harold Nelson, stand if you're here. Vivian Simmons, stand if you're here. Yeah, clap for them. 6 months of work. Moses Nelson, Sam Holmes, Ernest Pinckney, Suzette Hart, Maceo Jacobs, Coakley Hilton, and of course, the inimitable Lonnie Hamilton III. They brought us where we are, and we are proud that this day has come for all of us to share. And we thank so much the administration, who I'll introduce in just a few minutes' remarks and tell you their role in everything. But before we do that, I understand there's to be a musical interlude by Mr. Noah Jones. Is that correct? Mr. Noah Holmes, musical interlude for a moment. Thank you so much, Noah. I knew you were great from the time I saw you play with Mr. Hamilton in the SOA Jazz Band. He's right here at SOA, and we appreciate him doing this for us. He was excited to be a part of the Bonds Wilson program. And that's been the case with Academic Magnet and the School of the Arts. Everyone has been right on target to make this thing happen, joined forces to reconnect the proud past of Bonds Wilson with the building and the great things that are being done by both these campuses today. I want to start by introducing my principal. My daughter, Abby Turner, happens to be a junior at Academic Magnet starting this year, and we are very proud of that. And I want to introduce your principal, and I feel like my principal. We couldn't have done this without her, folks. She was my first move when we started. And I won't talk about the book that she recommends everybody to read because I haven't read it yet. Lonnie has, but it's a book on character. And she displayed that immediately. A lesser person would have said, no, I'm not so sure we ought to get involved in all that. But Judith Peterson stepped right up to the plate and hit a home run. Ms. Peterson, will you talk about your remarks now, please? Please give her a hand. And Dr. Cook from SOA in the same vein.
Good afternoon. We are excited you're here. I got to jump in the project a little later, and as SOA became a part of the project, it reminded me a little bit of the work that you do when you're looking up about your ancestors, and you find out things about your history that you say, wow, I come from that tradition, I come from that heritage. And so I was excited about it because I want to be able to make sure that our students like Noah know about the folks who came before them, and know about the folks who were here on this campus that established all kinds of legendary traits and accomplishments that they're following in those footsteps. So we were excited about being a part of the project and having a place for the memorabilia and the collections, and for you all to be able to come back home to. So I was glad to step in a little later and get to be a part of this event and then the things going forward. But I would like to go ahead and introduce Ms. Peterson. She is the principal here at Academic Magnet and has been a part of the process from the get-go, making sure that the people and the items and the communication was in place to facilitate. So it's been a pleasure working with her and seeing this develop and come to fruition. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Peterson.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to everyone. I know you have all driven up I-95 and seen the signs to south of the border. The signs tell you that you are approaching your destination, and they remind us that when we get there, there's some joy and there's some purpose in our arrival. Well, about 8 months ago, we began a journey. Local members of the Bonds Wilson High School Alumni Group met with educators and a student from AMHS, SOA, and we worked together to consider some ways in which the strength and the community contributions of the Bonds Wilson High School community could be honored on this campus that has been named the Bonds Wilson campus. We had some really great alumni drivers on our trip. And we embarked. We started off late last spring, and today we have arrived. And we are celebrating the journey. We're celebrating the reason for our journey. We're celebrating our lead drivers, the Bonds Wilson Alumni Group. We are celebrating fellow passengers because we all took this trip together. Educators and students from AMHS, SOA, and leaders from Charleston County School District. And today we are celebrating the installation of the Bonds Wilson Reading Room and other important reminders of the legacy of Bonds Wilson High School, its graduates, its teachers, everyone that was associated with that community when it stood here and led its community from the late 50s and through till 1980-ish. Okay? Anyway, we are glad you took the ride with us. We are certainly glad to be here. ask you to enjoy the celebration. Come back and see the reading room if you cannot stay today. Listen carefully to the words of the speakers because they are all celebrating the ride and the destination. Welcome and enjoy the afternoon.
Come on, we can do better than that. She's the one that got this thing started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. No way we could have made the first step without Judith Peterson, and all of us from Bonds-Wilson are indebted to her, and we'll always thank you for this bold step. And working toward a permanent partnership and a reconnection of the past and connection to these young people in the audience with the present and future. Now, one other person who was instrumental that we have to hear from, when you start a huge project like this, occasionally you've got to go to the very top, whatever it may be. And Mike Bobby, at the particular time that we began the project, Mr. Hamilton and I was serving as the superintendent in our school district. I did not know Mr. Bobby before and had not worked with him. His door was immediately open. He embraced the project, as did Judith Peterson, as did Shannon Cook, and everything that we have asked for or asked to do to facilitate this, he's been there to say yes and not tell us why we can't do it. So please give a warm round of applause to the gentleman who made sure it all got done, Mr. Mike Bobby.
Thank you, Judge Turner and Mr. Hamilton. I remember the day that you knocked on my door, and you both came in with a bit of a smile on your face, and you said, "We got this idea." And they began to roll that idea out, and it was about 30 seconds into it when I knew we just had to do this because it was the right thing to do. Noah, your selection today, I have to tell everybody where that took me as soon as I began to hear the selection that was played. During the time that I was humbled and honored to be able to represent this district as your superintendent, unfortunately, included in that time frame was one of the greatest tragedies we may ever see in our lifetime here. And I remember being in the audience when President Obama sang that song, the College of Charleston Arena, a scant few days after the tragedy. And what resulted after that tragedy, the coming together of all races and creeds to overcome something that could have been terribly divisive, has been something that has put Charleston on the map and on the world as a way we should be together as one another. And I want to suggest to everybody that this is about honoring a legacy from the past, here in the present, and holding on to that legacy and what it means for those who are the future. We have our young men here, our football players. Now, I hope that you remember everything that Mr. Shell shared with you. I was able to listen from the back, and I didn't hear every word, but I think one of the things he said was something about getting an education. So what I'm expecting is as soon as practice is over today, instead of running home to your girlfriends, you're going to go get some work done for school the next day, right? All right, it is the weekend, so you don't have to do that. But I am very serious, gentlemen, I'm very serious that the words you heard, that you take to heart, because they are the truth. If you follow them, you won't go wrong. To our Bonds-Wilson alumnus and our staff, I want to tell you, you look awful good. You look awful good, and I'm pleased to be able to be here and take a part of this dedication with you. And with that, I wanted to say that I'm here representing our current superintendent, Dr. Jarita Postlewaite, and our County Board of Trustees, who also are honored to be able to share in this experience with you. And with that, I want to go ahead and pass the torch to our next speaker and continue with this dedication. Thank you very much for being here.
And we thank Mike for being there all the way. This day would not have happened. We'd not had the strong and immediate leadership of Mr. Mike Bobby. And I believe I speak for all, as I don't generally like to do, but anyone connected to Bonds Wilson, we appreciate what you did. Some other folks might not have done that, but Mike Bobby stood up and did it, as did Judith Peterson, and we'll always appreciate that because, as Mike said, it was the right thing to do. Now, the next speaker has probably been there for all of us. As a band director, as a teacher, as a father figure, whatever he was called to do. And he's still here at this great moment. And when I first came up with the idea and said, you know, folks really need to know what Bonds Wilson is all about. And we really need to connect with the academic magnet and SOA because it's on the same grounds. And I'm frustrated. Of course it was Lonnie Hamilton III. Of course it was Lonnie Hamilton III that said, come on and let's do it. Come on and let's do it. And we're still doing it, and we couldn't have done it without him. Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Hamp, come on up and tell us.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here because it's a long journey in 8 months. But let me do this before I make my remarks. I talk about this many times because the younger people don't know what happened during the struggle that we had from, say, the 50 back to where we are. During the early days, they had what is called, and they still have today, the All-American Band. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but the All-American Band, and they play in the Tournament of Roses in California, and they play in the Macy's Parade. They only select 2 kids from each state, and this is done competitively. You take an audition, and based upon that audition, they select you as one of the top players. Now, understand, 2 from all states. During those days, a young man by the name of Ernest Brown in 1968, Ernest Brown won a spot to play on the All-American Band. Now, we're talking about history. All of history is not beautiful. All of history is not colorful. But let's tell the truth. During these days, it was not nice for a black boy to go out and be good at nothing. He can go to jail, but he could not be good at things. Ernest Brown auditioned for the All-American Band, and Ernest Brown was selected. They select Ernest Brown based upon his ability. He could play. After he was selected, they called me from New York and told me that they selected Ernest Brown, and for me to go to my local newspaper and have them to publicize the fact that this is the first black guy coming from the South to be selected. So I ran down to the News and Courier and asked them to please publicize it. And I was told at that time it didn't merit it, so they wouldn't do it. Ravelli, who was the band director, when I called him back and told him, he took a picture with Ernest Brown. Now remember, I taught him from a little boy. He took this picture with Ernest Brown, and I didn't know where it was, but it came up today. When Ravelli sent the picture back, Coach, to the News and Courier, they published it. They never mention anything about me or Bonds Wilson. They just publish it. They publish it. Ernest went and played in the Tournament of Roses. Ernest played in the Macy's. Not knowing that, Coach, we had back-to-back people to be selected for that band. This is in 1968. 69, since no one gives us any publicity, they had a young man who is here today by the name of Kenneth Morris, who played in the American band. I would like for Kenneth to please stand, because no one knew that Kenneth did this. Kenneth graduated from Bonds Wilson. Listen now, he graduated from Bonds Wilson. Kenneth came out of the service as a full colonel, engineer, and nobody knows. We take our stars and we kill them. Kenneth, would you please stand? That's back to back. When I first met Judith Peterson, a person that I admire a lot, she started off by telling me about a book. And I said, what does woman tell me about this book? and she says to me, I want you to read it. And I'm saying to myself, why she wants me to read it? So I saved up my $40. I paid $38 for it. And I bought the book. And what I learned from what Judith was saying to me, that people fits in two groups, Adam 1 and Adam 2. I'm trying to be an Adam 2. You see, I don't want to do the one thing because that's a little selfish. I want to be open, and I'm thinking about that heavenly place that you will probably go, and so I want to be an Adam too. And when I read the book and saw where she was trying to take me, to be true and hard, to do things not for people coming up patting you on the back about it, to do some things that not even people would even realize it, that you've done it. And so after I read, I'm still reading because I go back and things will hit you and say, look what this man is saying. And as a result of that, I grew an admiration for this woman. She stepped out on a sheet of ice, not knowing how thick it was, taking a chance on us. Because what happened to us is that all of the trophies and stuff that we had earned, and there may be 100 of them, when Jim Turner came to me and said to me, you got to help me because we can't find any of the trophies that they had from Bonds Wilson. He wanted to show it off, you know. He's getting out there trying to make a point with a person who came to him. And I said, no. Then we went and started searching, and it was true. Out of the 100 and something trophy that you might have had, they threw all the stuff in the trash. That's the truth. Gone. Then we said, we've got to do something about this. We have to start from scratch. And she came up with the most glorifying, gorgeous ideas as to what we should do. And she drove us. She made us want to do something, made us want to preserve that history so that white kids and black kids will understand what happened. That's why I like her. I was telling Jim the other day, ladies and gentlemen, that when they integrated the schools in 1970, I was then selected to be a vice principal because they didn't think that black people should be teaching white kids. So as a result of that, they decided then that they wanted me to be a teacher, wanted me to be a principal. So I'll be a vice principal. So then later the superintendent came back and said, Lonnie, guess what happened? I said, what happened? They want you to stay as a band director. And I said, who are they? You mean the white folk? He said, yeah. He said, yes. So when he said that, I said, well, you tell them. I said, did you talk to them about how I feel about discipline? He said, no. I said, well, you better talk with them about that. So he then called me back, and then we called a meeting. And at this meeting now, remember we're talking about a formerly all-black school. Nobody was there but white people. So they talked to me. We had a wonderful meeting. I felt good. And then after the meeting, just before the meeting ended, a white lady said to me, Mr. Hamilton, she said, they've already agreed now, they want me to stay as a teacher. Mr. Hamilton, I heard that you got a paddle. So I said, yes, ma'am, that's true. I've got a paddle. And I use the paddle. She says, well, the paddle got to go. Now, I'm in a room with all white people. So I said to her, all right then, if that's the case, I'll take care of the paddle. So I came up with another way to discipline my children. But I stayed on as a band director, and I had a 70% white band and a 30% black group. So it showed then that this thing could work. And the same things that I had those black kids doing when it was an outstanding band, well thought of, all up and down the East Coast, I started doing that with white kids. And they said, man, look what he's doing. And that's why I like the idea of trying to keep kids together, because kids can do anything if you let them know that you feel good about them. And white and black kids looked upon me. In fact, I've got a letter right now from a guy named Folks that wrote me a letter, came from right over in the back of Barnes Wilson School, and said that he's white. He never knew a father. I was the only daddy he knew. That's why I like so much what Ms. Peterson, and you also played a role in this also, because you supported her, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to stop, but I want you to know that I think a lot of her because she took a chance. And Mr. Bobby also took a chance on us. But we made it work. The words that came from Mr. Bobby to his archives person, make it work. Make it work. And today is the day that we're about to make this thing work. Thank you so much.
There's only one Lonnie Hamilton, right? And thank you, Mr. Hamilton, for everything that you've done for all of us. Some days weren't always good days in this effort as we tried to reconnect the past and connect the present and future. But on those days when I got a little frustrated, there were glimmers of light. And on one of those days, I got a phone call or an email or something from Judith Peterson, and she tells me, you know, we've got this young man, William Pugh, who goes to our school. And he has an Eagle Scout project, and he wants to do his Eagle Scout project to set up a reading room, a history facility about Barnes Wilson, so people can know about it. Give him a hand. Thank you, William. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't give the name. The name Brooks, Road to Character.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Well, William Pugh jumped in without any prompting from any of us on the committee, and Ms. Peterson said, is there a way to sort of connect this? And that made my day. And William has been with us ever since. You see, he's in the scout uniform. And I encourage you, I implore you, if you have a chance today, after we break up, go over to that reading room located in the library. Look at those annuals. Look at that bass drum skin that was fished out of a dumpster with the Bonds-Wilson Cobra symbol on it. Think about friends of mine who have passed on and can't be here today. One of my closest friends, Shaka Brightman, used to carry that bass drum skin. He's passed away now. But William, I think of him every time I go in that room. Please take a moment to do that. He's worked very hard, and he's compiling what we plan to be a permanent history. Not a temporary history, ladies and gentlemen, but a permanent history that will stay on this campus. William Pugh.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Turner, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is William Pugh, and I'm a senior here at Academic Magnet High School. And for my Eagle Scout project with Troop 469, I created the Bonds-Wilson Reading Room located in the Media Center, which I hope you guys will have a chance to look at. Bonds-Wilson alumni James Turner, 75, summed it up perfectly in an interview with the Post and Courier when he said, "Knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, then you see pictures accurately and you see what Bonds-Wilson truly was." Now, before I tell you about the room, I first want to talk to you about Bonds-Wilson, the campus, and its rich, rich history. The school, formerly 6 Mile High School, was renamed Bonds-Wilson High School in 1950 to honor two distinguished principals, J.R. Bonds and John T. Wilson. Give them a hand. Opened in 1950 in the predominantly African-American community of Liberty Hill, this high school served African-American students for over 20 years before being integrated in 1971. The school closed its doors in 1985 and was eventually demolished. Many great alumni and former staff include famed band director Lonnie Hamilton III, who we've heard from this evening. Also musician Alphonse Mouzon and Football Hall of Famer and first African-American football coach for the NFL, Art Shell. The Bonds-Wilson Reading Room was created to serve as a place to recognize and commemorate the Bonds-Wilson High School from 1950 to 1985, and to provide context for the two schools on the current Bonds-Wilson campus, Academic Magnet and Charleston County School of the Arts. As you look around, you'll find Bonds-Wilson memorabilia, photos, newspaper clippings, and literature related to African-American history, and so much more. Each day, we're adding to it. We have a jersey that we got last night. There are also hand-selected Academic Magnet thesis projects from 2002 to present with topics related to race, diversity, and the Liberty Hill area. I also hope this area can be used for the campus as a whole for meetings, conferences, as well as for individual use and personal research into Bonds-Wilson history. Ultimately, the Bonds-Wilson Reading Room will serve as a place for students to learn about the history of the Bonds-Wilson campus and the contributions of African Americans to the greater Charleston community. Now, none of this could have been possible without help and support of many, a few of which I would like to highlight this afternoon. First of all, my Boy Scout, Troop 469 at Mount Moriah. Also, the incredible, talented, dedicated Bonds-Wilson Alumni Association, which I've been very happy to work with over the past 8 months. Let's give them a hand. My school principal, Miss Judith Peterson, and librarian, Miss Susan Henley. and also my family and friends. I'm glad to see you guys here today as well. Thank you. I'd like to close by saying we cannot know where we are going without first knowing where we are from. And I feel like this addition to our campus is going to help us greatly move in this direction. And I'm very happy to make it my Eagle Scout project and to be a part of this great dedication. Thank you.
Unbelievable what that young man has done to keep this going, and so much of his own initiative. Before I'm going to introduce the next speaker, and after she introduces our keynote speaker, and before he speaks, it's my understanding that there will be a short video about Art's life. But I just want to say a word about the next speaker. She loves to write, and so she joined the newspaper staff here. And I guess it's true that they say intelligence skips a generation. At least that's what my father-in-law says. But she said, "Daddy, I want to write something about your school and Mr. Shell coming." Well, as a father, you can imagine how that made me feel, because like you, I had so many fond memories of Bonds Wilson. All of us were often different, but we came together as one. And that story needed to be told. And so I want to introduce now my daughter, Abby Turner, to introduce our special guest speaker. And after she makes that introduction, there'll be a short video about Art Shell, and then we'll hear from our guest, Yvonne and Mr. Shell. Abby?
Hi everyone, I'm Abby Turner, a committee member of the Bonds Wilson High School project of saving memorabilia, as well as a junior academic magnet at high school. I was connected to this committee as not only a student at the new high school on the Bonds Wilson campus, but also as the daughter of a Bonds Wilson alum. My father, James Turner, graduated from the school with the class of 1975 and has been a huge part of planning and the dedication today and making sure everything ran smoothly. So thank you. Round of applause, please. I am here to relay the history and timeline of an incredible athlete who I've been fortunate enough to have met. He was drafted from Maryland State College to the American Football League and played for the Oakland Raiders. He later became the coach for the Raiders, who had since moved to Los Angeles. Afterwards, he was transferred to other teams such as the Kansas City Chiefs and the Atlanta Falcons. Finally, he returned to the Raiders once more in 2006. This man I've spoken of is none other than Art Shell, one of the highest achievers in the National Football League history, and here are some of his achievements. He played in 207 games total, 23 postseason games, 24 playoff games, 8 Pro Bowls, and remarkably played in 2 Super Bowls, number 11 and number 15. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1989 and was ranked as one of the top 100 greatest football players in 1999. As coach, he led the Raiders to victory in 54 games and was named the AFC Coach of the Year in 1990. Known as the Jackie Robinson of football, Art Shell is still remembered today as the first African-American football coach in the NFL. Notably, prior to any of these achievements, Art Shell attended high school right here on these grounds at Bonds Wilson High School. This is significant to me as a student of Academic Magnet, for this was the foundation of both my high school and School of the Arts before we became who we are today as schools. I would like to now present to you a video of Art Shell himself. I hope you all enjoyed that video as much as I did. Now that you've seen Art Shell in action, I present to you our next speaker, a man described to possess size, speed, agility, intelligence, and strength, who came from right where we all attended high school, whether it be Academic Magnet, School of the Arts, or Bonds Wilson. It is my privilege to welcome none other than the NFL legend, Art Shell.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Lonnie Hamilton that all of us know, Mr. James Turner, Ms. Peterson, Sam, and the rest of the committee for making this thing happen. When I got a call from Mr. Hamilton, I live in Georgia, so he called me and he says, we're doing this function. We're trying to save Bonds Wilson's legacy. Now, who's going to say no to Mr. Hamilton? You all know him. You're not going to say no. I was excited about it, being a part of this, but I want all of you to know, before I go any further, that this, even though I'm being honored, because I'm a part of you, this is about all of us. This is about Bonds Wilson. Black Bottom, we used to call it. This is about Silver Hill, Rosemont, Charleston Heights, Daniel Jenkins, Ackerby, Dorchester, Liberty Hill, 10 Mile. And if I forgot some, I mean I'm getting old. But this, I said Liberty, or Liberty, no, I said Liberty Hill, Liberty Park. Don't want to forget Liberty Park. Can't forget any of the areas. Jenkins Orphanage. You know, this is a magnet school, and this is a great building. I've been here before. It's a very functional place, and a lot of smart kids go here, and I'm excited about that. But this was a magnet school before this became a magnet school. These grounds were magnet. Because it took in so many of us from around the area. Mr. Hamilton is saying he's telling the truth, and he is. I passed Chicora High and North Charleston to get to here. Those were the times, young people. Those were the times. Times that have changed. But that's the way it was back then. And I was kidding with Coach, what's your last name? You call me Kenny all the time. That's the coach over here who lived about right over the road here from here. And he said when he was 10, 11 years old, he used to come around and watch us practice, sneak and watch us practice. And then he goes to North Charleston, and he wondered, they used to say they could beat us, and wondered whether we were saying the same thing. So he asked me that question last night, very quickly. Yeah, we could have beaten you, you know? We had good athletes. We had great fans, and we had great students. And the most important thing that I remember, and as I've gone through life, we all kind of revert back. And you get, no matter where you go, whether you're in college, or whether you go to the pros, you talk among yourselves about what it was like when you were growing up. And I was very proud to talk about being here in the North Charleston area and being a part of Barnes Wilson. The most important thing I put forth to them was the teachers. They cared about us. They wanted us to succeed. And if you got out of line, they put you in place. Why do you think Mr. Hamilton was talking about that paddle he had? But even without the paddle, they got us straight so that we could become productive citizens in our country. I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I said this to these young men earlier because I was impressed by the teachers at our school and by the coaches that we had. So that was my goal. That's the goal I set for myself when I was young. But I really got the idea about college from another hero, my hero, my daddy and my mom. We got relatives in Orangeburg area, and we were passing South Carolina State back then when I was sitting in the back of the car like the rest of the kids. And about 12 years old. And my dad, we passed South Carolina State in Claflin College, and he said, how would you like to go to that school one day? I mean, those buildings look huge to me. But he put a little bug in my ear. He's talking about college with a 6th grade education. But he could see where the world was going. That unless you have an education, it's going to be hard. And that's why I was talking to the young people here. It's going to be hard if you don't have an education. Back then, you could get away with going to high school and, get a productive job. Nowadays, you can't do that. But back then, I wanted to go to college because my dad put that bug in my ear. And watching the teachers and watching the coaches, man, I was excited about that. And then I got a chance to go to school. I couldn't go to South Carolina, of course. Had to go to Maryland State College. I could have gone to South Carolina State, could have gone to Voorhees or one of those other schools. But the coach from Maryland State came down and saw me play in the first All-Star game that blacks could play in. 1964, my senior year. The first year they were having the All-Star games for the white guys, and that's the way it was. So they had an All-Star game for black kids. And I played in that game. I played in the basketball. I was the only first one to play in. I played in the basketball and football game. I was only supposed to play in one, but they rigged it so I could play in both. And the coach from Maryland State came down. Coach from Grambling came. Coach from South Carolina State, Coach Bell, was recruiting all of us because all the kids that were at the All-Star game was talking about if we go to South Carolina State, we could have a powerhouse. We said, yeah. And then by the time everybody scattered, we went our different ways. So I ended up going to Maryland State College. Again, the goal was to go to college and get an education because I wanted to come back. And I wanted to come back to Barnes Wilson and become a teacher and a coach. That was my goal. But as life went on, your goals grow larger. That's what I told the kids earlier. Your life and your goals change somewhat. But don't lose sight of the bright ball up there. It's there, but you got to work towards it. So everything I did from the moment I got in college was to learn and watch the coaches at that level and watch how they did things so I can put that in the back of my mind. And the same thing happened when I got a chance to go to the pro ranks. I went to school. Maryland State at the time had 762 kids when I graduated from school, co-educational school. But every day on that campus, there were pro scouts. We were practicing every day, 1, 2, 3, 4 pro scouts, because we had talent on the team, because that talent couldn't play down south. So the historically black schools were very rich during that time. And so my goal again was to become a coach, and I got drafted into the pros, got a chance to become a coach there. But as a player, I was sitting in the classroom, learning from my coaches, watching how they taught the classroom, learning all the valuable information that was necessary to become a coach. So when I got a call at 12 o'clock one night from Al Davis saying, I want to make you the coach of the Raiders. I'm thinking about it. I want you to think about it too. This is 12 o'clock at night. Just got through watching Nightline. I'm laying in bed. He woke me up. Not woke me up, but I got up and says, I'm thinking about this, and I want you to think about it too. So get some sleep. Get some sleep. Are you kidding me? There was no way I could get any sleep. But I had prepared mentally. I got up, started making practice plans for the week, started writing down what I was going to say to the players to get them to understand the change. And I scared myself. And the reason why I scared myself is because all of the information I was gathering, I put in a call to it, and it started rushing out at me. There was a lot up there. And it's the same thing to you young people. There's a lot there. Gather the information, and when you call on it, you'll be surprised how much you know. You'll be shocked. So I was able to get started, put game plans together, put the practice plans together, figure out what we needed to do in order to improve as a football team, because at that time we were like 1-4 when I took over. It was exciting for me. And I remember Al said to me, he says, I'm not hiring you because you're a black coach. I'm hiring you because you are a Raider and you're the best one for this job. Everybody else was calling me black coach, but he said, I'm hiring you as a coach. And for about 2 weeks that lasted, black coach. How does it feel to be the first black coach? I'm a coach. Then eventually it became, hey coach, that's what I wanted. So I was excited about that. But again, to be here and to be part of this, I'm thrilled about it. And if any of you have any memorabilia hidden someplace that you can give and put it in that room, it would be a great thing. I have a picture when I was playing for Barnes Wilson. I took a picture. Benny had it. I didn't know where it was. Benny, I found it last time I was down here for a function. Benny had it hidden at his house. So when I saw it, I took it. It's sitting on my desk at home in Georgia now. So I'm going to make a copy of that picture. I was number 41 when I played for Barnes Wilson. I only played 2 years here, guys. 2 years. 2 years. Played 4 years of basketball and 2 years of football. Because I broke my arm the first year I won for football in the 10th grade. And so I'm going to make a copy of that picture and make sure it gets here so it can be in the room. Funny looking picture. And the helmet I got on, I'm telling you, I don't know how we played with those things. But as you saw in the picture, you saw all on the little slideshow there. Boy, back in the 70s, we all had beards, didn't we? Bell bottoms, platforms. I was 6'9", but I put my platforms on. Shoot, bell bottoms, we were cool. But again, to be a part of this and to be a part of you guys, when I'm out there, I'm representing Barnes Wilson. I'm not just representing Art Shell. I'm representing because I am a product of all of you. That's what I am. I'm a product of all of you. and I'm excited about being here. This is a great thing. The history of our school should never be forgotten. Mr. Graves and Mr. Fields, and they're gone now, but I tell you what, they were special. And in the back of my mind, I always remember Miss Reed. Anybody remember Miss Reed? English teacher. No matter where I've gone, she pops into my brain all the time. And because she used to always say, because kids, you know, where you going at? Behind that preposition at. Boy, she got on you. So I never forgot that. It stuck in my brain, so I make sure I don't finish the doggone sentence with the preposition. You don't do that. Again, thrilled to see all of you. I know all of you have things to do, and we're glad you came. This is exciting. And let's everybody if you get a chance, if you don't do it, do it another time. Just visit the room. This here was a wall of fame. Some of you were here when I got this when we were at North Charleston. So when we found out about this, we wanted to make sure that came over to the room for Barnes Wilson. And there's something else that also is going to go into the room. But this is something that I'm very proud of because it represents being a part of North Charleston, because that's where the Hall of Fame wanted it to go, in the North Charleston. He said, where did I go to school? I went to Barnes Wilson, but there's no Barnes Wilson, so then we did it at North Charleston. And it was nice of North Charleston to allow us to let it sit there until we find a final place for it. And I'm going to do something that's different. I'm not following protocol. I'm going to read what's on it. It says, Art Shell, North Charleston Hometown Hall of Fame. Art Shell, proud son of Arthur and Gertrude Shell, and a third-round draft pick for the Oakland Raiders in 1968, possessed size, speed, agility, intelligence, and strength that became widely recognized as one of the premier offensive linemen in the NFL. And I rested and I played in 2 Super Bowls, very fortunate, had a lot of fun. Year after I retired, I coached my first year as assistant coach of the Raiders, because Al made a promise to me that once I got through playing, in my 6th year of playing, he called me coach one day because I had always stay up after practice and work with players, just teammates, young players, a rookie. Come on over here. We're going to go get some work done. So he called me coach one day, and again, that little bug is in my ear. I said, Coach, when I get to playing, I want to be a coach in this league. So again, I wanted to coach in high school, but the goal grew larger. When I was in college, I wanted to go back to college. Now I'm in the greatest game ever, the biggest game, the pros. So now I became assistant coach in 1983. In 1989, I became the head coach of the Raiders. And very happy about that. But again, thank you all for being here. This is still our home, and Ms. Peterson allowed us to be a part of this again, come back to Black Bottom, and said, this is where we were born, and we fled out into the world to become productive citizens in our great country. Thank you.
Well, you can't top Art Shell, and that truly is Bonds Wilson football, and that was our true tradition, as now another new tradition is building. I want to just say two things in closing before we sing the alma mater. Number one is when I talked to Art, and we talked about saving the memorabilia, and I got the idea from Monuments Men, if y'all have seen that movie, by the way, and some of you who know me will know why that was important to me. But he said, "What about my plaque, James?" And I said, "Well, you know, Art, that's somewhere else." He said, "I want you to bring it home." We did it. It's home. And then, as if that wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen, in this cardboard box, which we're not going to take out, but Ms. Peterson is guarding it, some of you may know when you watch pro football games now that during every pro football game on Sunday and on the other games, you'll notice that the 50-yard line to 50 is in gold. Right, and we know why that is, right? Because this is the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. Well, I got a call from the National Football League from a lady named Tracy Perlman, and she said, "I just wanted you to know Art Shell has given me your name as a member of that committee for Bonds Wilson and the Academic Magnet. Every Super Bowl player," now of course that's a Hall of Fame plaque, and that's a limited edition. "Every Super Bowl player, the NFL is now going to give a golden personalized football with the name of their alma mater on it, which will be Bonds Wilson, and he wants it to go here." Thank you. That is for all of us who attended Bonds Wilson and remembered it fondly, and that is for all of you gentlemen who play on the current team now that is housed on this campus. All that is part of your legacy. I'm going to quit. Who's going to lead the alma mater for me? Because I sure can't lead it. How about Linda Miller? How about Linda Miles, Sam Holmes? Come on up, because they don't want to hear me sing. One more thing as we sing this alma mater. Those of you who were in school, remember what we did when we closed it out. Those of you who are new to us, this is what we do when we get to Bonds Wilson High. Remember what we do? We do this, right? We do this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. My name is Linda Mitchell-Miles. I'm a proud graduate of Bonds Wilson High School, class of 1973. I was Miss Bonds Wilson, Miss Homecoming, and I was also the band director for the Mighty Cobras. One of our official things that I did, as the last part of what I did at every football game, I said these words: "Ladies and gentlemen, our alma mater."
We're asking everyone to please stand.
Please stand. You know how to do it.
To thee, dear school, a tribute song we raise. We love thy hallowed walls. We'll always give thee praise.
be adjourned. Enjoy everyone here, and please go see that reading room with Art Shell's 63 state basketball trophy and the 74 state basketball trophy with Jennings Austin's team.
Okay, great job.
Bye-bye.